What if I told you there's a specific end game that a lot of players, no matter the level, high, low, doesn't matter, get wrong frequently? This end game that we're going to be talking about is how to handle Queen end games. This game is between me and International Master Minh from Vietnam. So I'm playing black, and they're playing a queen and other queen endgame. So queen versus queen. Two main factors when you handle queen versus queen endgames properly. So there's the queen and the king. So let's look at the queen. So the queen needs to be centralized and active, but mainly need to be centralized. What I mean by centralized, not just basically the whole e4, d4, e5, d5, but beyond that, maybe just include these squares around it. Basically, a shelter of this one is basically where the queen needs to be centralized in the queen end game. So we'll see that in the game, why that's basically being this box, bigger box than this only for central squares, is very important to be there all the time. So right now in the starting position, Minley has the queen on f5, whereas my queen not there yet. So I'm also down a pawn if you see the pawn count. In the game, I played queen takes a3, so got my pawn back. But now, it's going to be very short-lived because after queen c8, I'm going to lose that pawn and b7 because, well, I was attacking my king, so I had to move the king. And now he takes in b7. So no, I'm down a pawn. If you're black in this case, what would you like to do to survive this game the most effective way? So I played a move like queen e6, attacking his king on h2. So he blocked that with the g3 move, and I played queen d4. So I want to be active, not just doing a centralized move like the square I told you about, but also attacking something, be active. Basically coupling that with the activity, queen d4 is a really good move. So after king g2, I played h5. I wanted to also, with the extra pawn down I want to say, I want to just give you another pawn with h4 and just make sure that the king on the h4 square is really exposed, maybe having a perpetual check problem that is going to be really worrisome. So queen f3, attacking my pawn h5, I played g6 simply, defending on h5. It seems like I'm exposing my king more, but the most important thing is that my king is not really losing. Just like they could check me all they want because every pawn is defended by something. The pawn is defended by the g6 pawn. The king is defending the g6 pawn. Also, the pawn at a7 is guarded by the queen, and centralized queen. And basically, if your queen is centralized in the queen endgame, it does offensive and defensive duties more so than you ever realize. So after this one, he did do h4 to basically shove my pawn back to h5, no going to h4 ever, pretty much. So I played king g7 to cut off the queen from going to f7 if he had ideas like that. So he played queen c6. So maybe he wants to do something like this, I don't know. So I played something that's safe to me, king f7. So it seems like it's really scary after queen c7, but to be honest, with centralized queen, there's nothing I have to worry about. That's so cool. So after king g8, I'm saying, okay, take me forever. I'll be just having a draw. So he did queen b8, but just king a7. It's hard to go wrong with a centralized queen. That is, it's really beneficial. So I did after queen e8. I did king g7. So everything looks scary against this really strong international master. I argue that maybe it's going to be the best international master in the world. He's that strong, but I'm just trying to survive. I'm just losing my principles. He put king e1, hoping that I just trip up and make something a mistake and just commit to things that are really not really beneficial for me, and like something like queen d1, and I just played queen d1, and I was just, it doesn't matter because I just wouldn't come back again, attacking f2. So just check is instant as long as you go back, no problem now. So I'm attacking something. He played queen e3. Don't want to go king g1 because, well, I'll just go back. So queen e3 to block that sort of repetition. So I played queen d7. So not in the box of centralization. So my queen is not that good. So now the tide is turning a little bit because his queen I would consider is more better than my queen. So I was doing a simple threat about taking the b5 pawn, saying, okay, to trade the a pawn for the b pawn will be really hard for you to win the game. So he played at this point queen c5, defending everything. All the pawns are defending each other like I had earlier. So that's the main point. So I played king a7, just doing the shuffling of the king again. But now, this is the game changer. the queen is so good in the centralized box we talked about, is that actually the king's safety is not so relevant now because the king can move actively to have progress for him. So after this one, I played king g7, just waiting for him. He played king f3. Well, he can go that way? Yes, he can. So I played queen e3 check. It's like, oh, what are you doing? He played king f4. He actively moves the king. It's like, whoa, is there kings that are going to be exposed? No, there's not going to be any exposure because the queen, centralized queen in the box can actually doing defensive duties like a bubble for the king. For basically the king f4 is more active and defensive because the queen's governing every single check, pretty much. So if they go, let's say in the game I played queen e3, basically the only check that sound that is like basically a check, but it runs it to king e5. The king was advancing on the board, but it's still very safe for him. This is really crazy because my first principle about the queen is basically over like superseding the defense of the king. But this is so powerful to have a centralized queen in the bubble that the king's safety is going to be subservient to the queen's activity on the bubble. So this one, king e5, I just played queen e2. Again, king is marching over the board like a madman because I didn't realize this is the factor. Because my queen is going to attacking this king. This like I thought it was like going to be a check, like taking a pawn. But remember, again, the principle is the queen is defending everything. The queen is defending the b5 pawn, defending the f2 pawn, and the all other pawns are defending each other. So that way they're attacking this h7 pawn. And I just didn't know what to do, and I played queen e3 check again. I wanted to do check because I didn't have ideas, so I just played that one. And after king c7, there's no way to defend a7. It's really bad. Now there's no checks even. No checks and no defend the a7 pawn. And I'm just going to be really totally busted. So I played something like queen f3. To be honest, maybe something like to look on the b5 pawn was more maybe focused. Maybe something like king f7 or king f6 is saying that if you take the a7 pawn, I'll take the b5 pawn. But I played queen f3 for some reason, but he took on a7. No questions asked. He got a free pawn, and the game was over after something like queen c3 check, king d6 check, a counter check by the way. So I had to do king a6, queen e3, and this double check by the king and the queen, and I just resigned here. And the game is over. So I really appreciate it if you hit the like button. I'll see you in the next video.